So, we have been having an exciting time in this series of meetings. I have been empowered, I've been blessed, and I've even had some fun. So, I hope you are all sharing the same experience. And now we'll turn over to our presenters, Don and Wayne. Take it away.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Ingrid, and a very good evening to everybody on the meeting this evening. Very glad to be here, and tonight's topic has engendered a lot of interest, not only from Ingrid, who's very excited to find out what this is all about, especially after seeing the title on the flyer, which is Meet Me on Earth. So the first question is a very natural one, which is, what on earth is this topic all about?
Yeah, and interestingly, that topic was inspired by something you said last week. I don't remember what the immediate context, but you said, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And it is something that prevails in society, that it really talks about men and women being so different, as if they are from two different planets. And so tonight we want to look into that a little bit more and see to what extent men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and whether or not they can get to meet on Earth.
Very good. I get that. Well done. So men are from Mars and women are from Venus. That sounds good. It's actually the title of a very, very interesting book that became a bestseller a number of years ago. But can you expound on it a little bit for us, please?
Yeah, well, okay. I'm going to tell you a story. It's obviously not a true story, but it's going to help to bring out the point. So once upon a time, a very long time ago, some Martians, that's people living on Mars, looked through their telescopes and they saw some very beautiful ladies on the planet Venus. Just glimpsing the Venusians awakened feelings they had never known. It was love at first sight, and they quickly invented space travel and flew to Venus. Women have that ability to make men creative. Of course, when they got there, the Venusians welcomed them with open arms. Their hearts also opened wide to emotions they had never felt before. Unfortunately, they soon found out, though, that the Martians were not able to live on Venus. So they had to fly back home at the end of the day. And they started visiting regularly, but they had to keep flying back home every day. After a while, the Venusians came across, but they also couldn't live on Mars. So the visitations would take place, but everybody had to keep going back home. And after a while, it became quite a challenge to them. So they eventually decided they were going to meet midway. Now, those of us who know anything about the solar system know that midway between Mars and Venus is the Earth. So they started meeting on the Earth. And of course, they found that both of them could live comfortably on Earth. And so when the Martians proposed to the Venusians, the Venusians promptly said, yes, meet me on Earth. There we'll get married and live happily ever after. Now, the whole idea behind this, and we're going to get into it in some more detail, is that men and women are different. They have different emotional requirements, and a misunderstanding of the differences often leads to the breakdown of relationships. So falling in love is always magical. Those Martians saw the Venusians and they went there, love at first sight and falling head over heel. It feels eternal, as if, we always think love will last forever. You fall in love with somebody and, you feel like this is going to be it for the rest of my life. Sometimes, very naively, we believe that somehow we are going to be exempt from the problems our parents faced. Sometimes we saw our parents quarreling, arguing, sometimes having disagreements, and we feel, oh, I love this girl so much, or I love this guy so much. We're never going to have that kind of thing. But rest assured that almost invariably, problems will arise. As the magic recedes and daily life takes over, it emerges that men continue to expect women to think and react like men. And women expect men to feel and behave like women, sort of. Without a clear awareness of our differences, we don't take the time to understand and respect each other. We become demanding, resentful, judgmental, and intolerant. With the best and most loving intentions, love continues to die. Somehow, problems creep in, resentments build up, communication breaks down, mistrust increases, rejection and repression result. The magic of love disappears. So we ask ourselves, how does it happen? Why does it happen? And why does it happen to us? The key to a long-lasting and successful relationship is understanding and acknowledging gender contrasts by recognizing that men and women work as though they are from different planets. They have different needs and they communicate differently.
Very good, Don. That brings us up to date very, very clearly. And I know this from personal experience, and I'm sure most, if not everyone on the meeting tonight would know this from personal experience, but there are several ways in which men and women differ and don't see eye to eye. Surprise, surprise. But is there a single significant point on which these differences and disagreements can resolve?
Yeah, as you said, there are many different ways in which men and women can find disagreements, but it usually can be summarized for women, one statement, and for men, another statement. So it's not one, but one each. And for women, they most often complain that men don't listen. Sometimes men seem to either completely ignore her when she speaks or listen for a bit and then start trying to offer a solution to make her feel better. And as a man, that's natural. If a woman is saying something or complaining about something, you want to make her feel better. And so you start trying. But this is not what she wants. She wants empathy. But most times she doesn't want a solution. She doesn't want you to solve that problem. She just wants you to understand. And that's something men don't understand. And so women feel that men don't listen. And inversely, men now most frequently express the complaint that women are always trying to change them. It's like she wants to make me over. She wants me to do what she wants. She wants me to just fit into that mold. Now, when a woman loves a man, she feels responsible. It's natural in a woman to feel like she wants to help that man to grow and improve. So she tries to do things to help him improve the way he does things. And no matter how he resists her help, she persists, waiting for any opportunity she can get to help him or worse, to tell him what to do. She thinks she's nurturing him, but he feels like he's being controlled. What he wants instead is acceptance. He wants to be accepted. So to solve these two problems, let me stop there and then go on to the other part. So basically, what the man wants here is acceptance, and what the woman wants is empathy.
Very good. Yes, that's good. I can absolutely relate to that. I'm sure everybody else here in the meeting can also. So I believe that many of us can identify with this, if not all. So how can we get past these hurdles, which is really what they are? If we are so fundamentally different, is there really a way to get around these differences?
You know, as I was preparing for tonight's meeting, I usually do a little research and so on, and I found something on a site. The site is lookingfortruth.org, and it's titled Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I found that it expressed so well most of the things. So I'm going to be quoting from it quite a bit without giving acknowledgement. So you'll hear a lot of things that I'll be using. I won't acknowledge, but I'm telling you from now where I'm quoting from. So to solve these two problems, the Martians and the Venusians need to first understand why each behaves the way they do. When we understand the nature of the problems, the reasons why people do what they do, it becomes easier to tolerate them. You know, one of the difficulties is that we're not understanding each other. I don't know why she keeps doing that. And she doesn't know why I keep doing this or saying this. You know, we just don't understand because I don't think like she does. And so therefore I can't understand it. So let's get down, as you asked, Wayne, to understanding the fundamentals and then see if we can find some of the solutions. So what's life like on Mars? Martians value power, competency, efficiency, achievement. They're always doing things to prove themselves and develop their power and skills. Their sense of self is defined through their ability to achieve results, and they experience their fulfillment through success and achievement. Everything on Mars is a reflection of these values. Even their mode of dress is designed to reflect their skills and competence. So like you have police officers, you have soldiers, technicians, chefs, businessmen, scientists, all wear some kind of clothing, some kind of uniform that identifies who they are and what they do. It identifies their competence or their areas of power. They don't read magazines like Psychology Today or People. They are more concerned with activities like hunting and fishing, with games, with racing cars and bikes. They are interested in the news and in weather and in sports, and certainly have little or no interest in romance novels and things like that. That's not what the men from Mars like. So while women fantasize about romance, men fantasize about powerful cars, faster computers, latest gadgets, newer technology. Martians are preoccupied with the things that can help them express their power by creating results and achieving their goals. For him to feel good about himself, the Martian must achieve these goals by himself. Someone else can't achieve them for him. So Martians pride themselves in doing things by themselves. Autonomy is a symbol of efficiency, power, and competence. And you know, I'm saying Martian, I want the ladies to listen carefully because we're talking about men. Men like to feel like they can achieve things by themselves, and many times they don't want your help. Let them try, let them fail, and let them try again and fail again until they get it right. So understanding this can help women understand why men resist so much being corrected and being told what to do. So that's for men on Mars. That's for the people on Mars. But I'm sorry. Let me just pick up here. Okay. So to offer a man unsolicited advice is to presume that he doesn't know what to do or that he can't do it on his own. Men are very touchy about this. I can tell you that. Because the issue of competence is very important to the Martians. Because he's handling his problem on his own, a Martian rarely talks about his problems unless he needs some expert advice. So if I'm trying to fix my generator, I know that Ted is an expert on generators, and I might call Ted and say, Ted, I'm trying to do this and I'm not getting through. What would you suggest that I do? And the expert would tell me, oh, you just need to take that green wire and connect it to that little nut and you'll be good, whatever that is. So sometimes a man may go to the expert advice, but certainly not somebody who is not an expert, like his wife, for example. So the Martian reasons, why involve someone else when I can do it by myself? He keeps his problems to himself unless he requires help from another to find a solution. Asking for help when you can do it yourself is perceived as a sign of weakness. However, if he really does need help, then it becomes a sign of wisdom to get it from the right source. In this case, he will find someone he respects and then talk about his problem. Talking about a problem on Mars is an invitation for advice. Another Martian feels honored by the opportunity. Ted feels honored that I talked to him about that generator, and so he offers the advice. And automatically, Ted puts on his Mr. Fix-It hat, listens for a while, and then gives the advice. So this is one of the reasons why men instinctively offer solutions when women talk about problems. I want you to listen, ladies. Instinctively, when a woman talks about problems, the Martian believes that you're asking for the expert advice. And so he wants to give you the expert advice to solve the problem. But remember, that's not what the woman wants. So men, most times that's not the woman wants. That's not what the woman wants. So when a woman innocently shares upset feelings or explores the problems of her day, a man mistakenly assumes that she's looking for some expert advice. He puts on his Mr. Fix-It hat and begins giving advice. And this, in the man's mind, is an act of showing love. He's trying to help. He wants to help her feel better by solving her problems. He wants to be useful to her. He feels he can be valued and thus worthy of her love when his abilities are used to solve her problems. Once he has offered a solution, however, and she continues to be upset, it becomes increasingly difficult for him to listen because his solution is being rejected and he feels increasingly useless. So he has no idea that by just listening with empathy and interest, he can be supportive. He does not know that on Venus, talking about problems is not an invitation to offer a solution. So life on Venus is different from on Mars. They have different values. They value love, communication, beauty, relationships. They spend a lot of time supporting, helping, and nurturing one another. That's how the Venusians are. Their sense of self is defined through their feelings and the quality of their relationships. They experience fulfillment through sharing and relating. Everything on Venus reflects these values. Rather than building highways and tall buildings, the Venusians are more concerned with living together in harmony, community, and loving cooperation. Relationships are more important than work and technology. So you see, the Martians and the Venusians are worlds apart. They don't wear uniforms like the Martians to reveal their competence. On the contrary, they enjoy wearing a different outfit every day. And it depends on according to how they feel. Personal expression, especially of their feelings, is very important. They may even change several outfits for one day. They're expressing their feelings. So communication is of primary importance. To share their personal feelings is much more important than achieving goals and success. Talking and relating to one another is a source of tremendous fulfillment. This is hard for a man to understand. He can come close to understanding a woman's experience of sharing and relating by comparing it to the satisfaction he feels when he wins a race, achieves a goal, wins a game, or solves a problem. So instead of being goal-oriented, women are relationship-oriented. They are more concerned with expressing their goodness, love, and caring. If two Martians go to lunch to discuss a project or a business goal, they have a problem to solve. But if two Venusians go, they are talking about an opportunity. They're going to lunch together is an opportunity to nurture a relationship. So, a woman has no concept of the sensitivity of the male when she offers advice he doesn't feel he needs. For her, it is another feather in her hat if someone offers to help. It makes her feel loved and cherished. But offering help to a man can make him feel incompetent, weak, and even unloved. And I know that when I finish, we may have questions, and some of you may want to talk about this, whether or not this is true for you, but this is generally what the truth is. On Venus, it is a sign of caring to give advice and suggestions. Venusians firmly believe that when something is working, it can always work better. They're always trying to improve things. But the Martians believe that if it's not broke, don't fix it. If something is working, you don't need to change it. That's why women will move the house around, change things around, try it differently. Men, I'm good with it. I put my thing right here every day. I want to see it here when I get back tomorrow because I don't need to rearrange. And that's one of the problems that men have with women, because women like to move things around to try to make it better, make it look better, make it feel better, whatever, while men are comfortable just having things the same way every time. So when a woman tries to improve a man, he feels she's trying to fix him. He receives the message that he is broken and she's trying to fix him. She doesn't realize that her caring attempts to help him may humiliate him. She mistakenly thinks she's just helping him to grow. Let me pause here. And because I realize time is running on us. So let me pause here. I want to move on to some advice, but it may be lengthy and we may have to put it off. But let me pause here, Wayne, see what you have on this.
What I have done is to time to throw it open to see what questions our guests may have or comments to be made about this interesting and intriguing topic. Meet me on Earth. Difference between Martians and Venetians. And so there's the first one. Go ahead, Erica.
Yes, I'm just considering a relationship that exists for say many years. You're in a relationship with each other, despite the fact that we're from, as women, we're from Venus, the men are from Mars. Don't you think at some point we really should be on Earth? I know that we have not got the advice as yet, but I'm just wondering to what extent can we actually live on Earth? It's good for us to know how each other thinks, but I'm just wondering if, there can't be some coming together where we stop like, for example, a man thinking that you're trying to fix him. Don't you think, for example, I if I want to fix my husband, let's say, in not his ways or whatever it is, but we like to fix, just like we like to fix the clothes, we want to make sure everything is quite okay. Can't men understand that it is love that drives you to do those things and stop being picky about things? I don't know. It just sounds kind of picky to me.
I don't know if Ingrid wanted to respond. Her hand went up, so maybe she wants to. And then afterwards, I can say something.
Okay, yes, I do want to say it's a matter of understanding each other and also communicating well and compromise. That's something we sometimes don't plan to do in a relationship. We get really stubborn after the butterflies are gone, and that stage of the relationship we get stubborn and we are not willing to compromise, so to understand each other and just work with whatever the Martians do and the Venetians are stubborn about, that kind of thing. That's my thought on the question you posed, Erica.
Very nice. And obviously, understanding and communication, understanding and effective communication is vitally important.
Yeah. Erica asked, isn't it about time that men understand that what the woman is doing is with their best interests at heart? And I think there is some yes to that, but the nature of a person is difficult to change. It's not a matter of knowing what you're trying to do, it's what hits you based on your nature. And the question to ask is, okay, sure, men should know, but if it still bothers, shouldn't women also know that it bothers, and can they back off with that too? So it goes both ways, both parties. And this is why the topic of our meeting tonight is Meet Me on Earth. Because what that is saying is we've got to both give up some of where we're coming from, put aside some of that, and meet in a neutral ground. We have to try to understand that we're both coming from a different perspective, from a different angle, and we must both give and take. And as I said earlier on, when you understand where it's coming from, you're less likely to take offense. But it doesn't mean it may not bother you still because of the nature. So both have to give. That's my thinking. I think Ingrid raised her hand just now. So
Not really. I didn't, but I might just use the opportunity to say something I learned from that book. I think I don't know if Wayne want to share it. If I remember well, I bought this book many years ago, and I also bought it and shared with a lot of my friends. Anybody who had marital problems, I thought I kind of think that this book. Wayne, is it Dr. John Gray? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Okay. And so one of the things I never forgot from that book, I really didn't put up my hand, but I'm going to use the opportunity to say, when a man and a woman, partners, they have a discussion and they're trying to resolve something, a man will just talk about it once and expects that it stops there. And a woman will nag, and they call it nag, but we are talking and talking until we feel like there is a resolve. If there's not a clear resolve in our mind, we are not going to stop. And my husband is here right now, shaking his head and carrying on. And that is the fact. We are not going to give up until we feel there's a clear resolve. But the men will just talk about it once and think that it's over. That's how different men and women are.
Yeah, and I think Dr. John Gray is actually the author of that book, and that's what I'm quoting from mostly, actually. So those of you who are familiar with it will remember those things. But here's an example that is given in the book. You know, Tom and Mary were going to a party. Tom was driving. So as they were driving along, and about 20 minutes going around the block a few times, Mary realized that Tom was lost because he was circling around the same block more than once. So nice Mary suggested, Tom, why don't you call for help? Ask somebody to tell you. So Tom got very silent. Eventually, they arrived at the party, but the tension between them was tight. And from that moment, it persisted the whole evening. And Mary had no idea why Tom was so upset. You see, from her side, she was saying, I love and care about you, so I'm offering advice that can help. We're going around, we're lost. From his side, he was offended. What he heard her saying was, listen, I don't trust you to get us there. You are not competent. You are lost. You're spinning around in circles. So I think you need to get help. And without understanding that this is what the man hears, a woman is going to say, what's he getting so upset about? You know, so she says something quite innocently, trying to offer help, and he's upset. And I know from personal experience that that happens, you know, and women don't understand. So it's very important that we. So one of the pieces of advice is that women should give up on giving advice. Stop giving advice, at least not in that kind of a way, you know. Um, we have to understand how something impacts somebody. So generally speaking, when a woman offers unsolicited advice or tries to help a man, she doesn't understand how critical and unloving she may sound to him. So though her intent is loving, though she really means the best, her suggestions offend and hurt. And usually what happens is the man, as Ingrid says, the man gets quiet. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Um, when what's eating you? Why don't you talk about it? Sometimes that's the woman. But he's upset now. You've hurt his feelings. You've made him feel like he's incompetent. He can't do anything right. And so, you know, I guess it's like a spoiled kid, eh?
Yes, there's that delicate balance. Absolutely. And Idris has got something to ask or share. Go ahead, Idris.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the story that Don was saying about the man going around the block a whole bunch of times. I'm gonna be on the girl side, which I understand. It is true that it does bother us because I've been on that spot. But at the same time, I understand the girls because at what point does the man stop going around the block? So to a degree, yes, she might be nagging him or whatever, but he has to go understand how much time was lost. How long is it gonna take there? And it could have been like, well, if he would have listened to her for that little bit of time, they could have gotten there on time, or he didn't need to go around the block that many times. So with this being said, you have to give a step back and say, what am I doing? Who's right here? You know, and it's not about, because sometimes it turns up a worrying about egos, like, oh, I'm not gonna listen to her, she's annoying, or oh, this and that. But we have to understand, like, is it right? Am I being angry for the wrong reason? If she's right, maybe I should have listened to her. We would have gotten there earlier. So things to that nature, sometimes I believe the ego gets in the way. So we have to be a little bit more humble with our significant other. And I guess, sometimes when you're younger and you get married, at first, some of these things you don't know. It takes time to get there. So, but it is interesting. We have to find like a middle ground, right? And I believe we have to be sympathetic towards each other.
Thank you, Idris. Anybody else with anything to share?
Yeah, Wayne, while I agree with Idris that we have to know when to accept advice, but there's also something that the woman can learn, and it is how to give the advice. There are ways to do it without bruising tender egos. Sometimes it's necessary to bruise the ego, and yes, we have to accept that. But advice, like saying, "Why don't you do so and so?" That's kind of, "Hey, listen, you don't know what you're doing. Why don't you do this? Let me tell you what to do." And that's kind of, well, for me, feels disrespectful, like you're disrespecting me. But how about another approach? Like, for example, do you think that if you did this, it might get the result? Now, what you're doing is you're asking him to think about what you're thinking about and analyze it. And then you get a much better response there because you're throwing it on him and saying, "I'm asking you to think." You're not saying, "Just go do that," or "Just try that." You're making a suggestion that is easier to accept, I think.
Very, very good, Don. Ingrid's got a hand up, but before we invite Ingrid to share, there was a little dynamic that happened just a little while ago. Idris made that comment. In my mind, there wasn't 100% agreement. So the way I handled it was to say, "Thank you very much, next." But you noticed there were several thumbs up, all women. Notice the dynamic that happened? And so the women loved what Idris said. The men were a little, because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I'm the driver. I roughly know where we're going. Oh, I missed the turn off, so I'm going back around. Oh, I missed it again. Oh, and it must have been that one. Yes, but the time isn't as significant as getting the job done. We got there without help. Praise the Lord. It's that sort of thing with the man. And yeah, so that was all. Just noticing that little dynamic there on the platform tonight, showing the differences there. The women loved what he had to say. The men, not too bad, but it was very balanced. Not knocking you, Idris. It was very, very balanced comments, that's for sure. But interesting how it went. Hey, okay, Ingrid, you still right to go with something?
Yeah, I think my husband wanted to agree with Idris.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any issue with what Edris says.
It's all gravy.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, sometimes the truth stings a little bit, but I mean, the truth will set you free. So, I mean, I have been known to argue with the GPS, which is primarily a woman's voice. Maybe if it was a man GPS, I might follow his instructions, but that's how we are wired, man. We're a little different.
And we have had that tackle before. Like I'm telling Eric, we are lost. And I like what Don says, but am I hearing that Don is really actually very egotistic too? Doesn't want to be told that in an even in a nice way that, hey, honey, we're going the wrong way. Instead, I think if we try, what did you say, Don? To reverse it, say, yeah. Do you think if we try this way, it would be better? It's just all ego. They don't want to be told like, hey, Eric and I have been through this already. We are lost. You made the wrong turn. Not in that tone, but the direct, thing. We are lost. You made a wrong turn. Nothing is wrong. This is interesting.
Well, that's very good, Ingrid, because what you were saying was what Don said really comes down to diplomacy, doesn't it? Can I introduce
that is
that
done
word?
for you. That is done.
Yes, diplomacy and tact, and we all need it. You know, some people, men like a bull at a gate, just go storming through that gate instead of slowing down, thinking about the woman's needs. But it works both ways. I remember seeing a sign, and then I saw the sign reversed. And the sign said, women have many faults, men have only two, everything they say and everything they do. So that was obviously a woman's, and then I saw it said, men have many faults, women have only two, everything they do, everything they say and everything they do. So isn't that interesting? Somebody picked up on it. Somebody made the comment, and I don't know who had it first, men or women. And you're right, Erica, it is a big thumbs down. That's for sure, because that's not right either side, either way. Terrible thing, right? But it's interesting that a man was the author of one of them and a woman was the author of the other one, instead of coming to that, as Ingrid mentioned earlier, that understanding and effective communication. And so, well done. Again, very good interaction during our comments and question time tonight. Really excellent. Any other thoughts? Any
Julia,
other questions?
Julia had
Julia, that's right. I did see that. Go ahead, Julia.
I was just saying that men prefer you ask them questions rather than instruct them.
Excellent. Good on you. That's good. Yes.
If I might say, Wayne, because I have a background in education, one of my favorite approaches to education is the questioning. Rather than telling children, giving them information, spoon feeding them, I like to question. And because I realize that people learn better and respond better when you use a questioning method. I think I also am one of those persons who accept things better, who probably learn better when I'm questioned, allow me to think about it. And even when I'm doing Bible teaching and so on, I like to ask questions rather than just to say, this is what the Bible says, and you do this and you do that. I like to give people information, bits of information, let them process it and ask them questions about it. So when you've thought about it, you come to your own conclusion, which is really what the questioner wanted anyway. So I think overall, I think it's a better approach. It's not only about being right or wrong, but it's about getting the thing to be properly assimilated.
Well, one of the things I'm thinking about, and I knew about that book, and that's why I mentioned it last week, but I've actually never read it. And so you've got some very interesting information out of it. And Ingrid said earlier that she had read it a long time ago and it helped her, and to the extent where she bought it for others. So I think I might take Ingrid up on her offer and have her buy me one so that I can that was a joke, Ingrid. It's okay.
Every married couple or everybody in a relationship should really read that book. It's really a very good.
There you are. So that's an important thing that's come out of the meeting as well,